Welcome to our 6th episode of this Scaling in APAC series. Right, so we are very excited to have all of you here with me today. But before we get back to what we usually do, can I invite all of you to join me to wish my dear partner in crime, Colin, a happy birthday. It's his birthday yesterday, but I'm sure he still works. So let's all do that, shall we? Right, so happy birthday, Colin.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Some of you may be here for the first time. Scaling in APAC was really conceptualized as a series and put together by both my company, MediaShock, and by Scaler, who is run by Colin and his team, his awesome team. And what we want to do here is to empower organizations and founders who want to grow in the APAC region, right? And we have invited speakers who have actually walked the talk, who have actually gotten real battle scars, and who have learned things the hard way, the easy way, just because they have got great advice. So we hope a lot of the advice we have dished out to you through the speakers and some of the knowledge shared in this series, they are real learnings, right? So hopefully it is meant to shorten your curve of implementation, your growth in APAC itself, right? So whether you're intending to just explore starting up in APAC, or you're currently based in the US or Europe, and you want to tap into the multiple opportunities of APAC, we want to share the experience with you in these very diverse markets. Right, so Colin, maybe you can do your shameless plug first. And there are so many people who already know Scaler, just for some of them who don't already know, right?
Thank you. So I am one of the two co-founders of. There's a number of businesses that I'm involved with. I'd say serial entrepreneur, but my core business is we're a consulting firm specializing in helping technology companies to scale. So we ourselves are global. We cover North America, we cover Europe, myself living in Asia Pacific, and APAC kind of being my passion, and obviously having an Australian accent. I've always been tied to this part of the world. This is what we've been helping companies with for the past 13 years. So the three areas we focus on are people, we do your recruitment for market entry, the strategy, we help you with rolling out the go-to-market to get your results, and also the advisory. So we build out advisory boards of people that know how to be able to scale the companies. And I guess why I was so passionate about doing this show with Ming, outside of the complementarity within our businesses, Asia Pacific is one of the most complex regions in the world. I would probably argue it probably is the most complex region in the world. That said, Asia Pacific also has some of the world's largest economies. It has arguably some of the world's fastest growing economies. And there are many companies that when they successfully land and expand here, often their largest deals globally are actually in Asia Pacific. So it's an incredible region with an incredibly diverse pool of talent, major deals to be done. It's just one of the most confusing regions because there are so many different languages and cultures. So we wanted to unite it. We wanted to highlight what makes the region so special. And I guess that was the thought process behind why we wanted to collaborate. So that's my shameless plug about Scaler and why we're doing this. But I guess, Ming, I'll put it over to you.
Okay, so I have my time to do a little bit of shameless plug about what we do at MediaShock. So MediaShock is a media and content agency, and we essentially help companies, particularly those in the technology space, communicate those complex ideas with effective and engaging message. There's lots of noise out there. We hope to be the one that's going to help you to make it a lot more palatable to your audience and make it really engaging. So we do this in multiple languages, obviously across APAC, across culture, so that when you decide to come into APAC, we can help you do it fast, quick, and be really culturally accurate. Don't be tone deaf, right? So that's a little bit of my own shameless plug. So in this particular region, we have got lots of esteemed speakers, right? Today's speaker is really, really special, right?
He's a very interesting guy.
Maybe can I have you share a little bit about your own personal interaction with him first? And because I will be speaking in depth with him later. Yeah, so how do you get to know Bastien?
I met Bastien when he was, please Bastien, don't kill me for this. I can't remember if it's the French Chamber of Commerce, but Bastien, who's one of the most talented people that I know. Fun fact, he's French and he's fluent in English and Korean, just as you do, right? So he was at the French Chamber of Commerce in charge of running partnerships and alliances and effectively helping French companies to enter Singapore and the wider Asia Pacific region. So whether that's putting on the events, whether that's putting on the various collaborations before moving across to CorpSec firm ACE or Expand with ACE, where now he's overlooking the entire, I guess, process of what a company needs from back-end and its process and when it's expanding into Asia Pacific. So from corporate secretary, accounting, bookkeeping, general advisory, so everything on the legal and incorporation front, that's what he's an expert on. Plus having his expertise, and whether it's living in Korea, whether it's in France, whether it's running delegations from both sets of companies, his knowledge of international trade and international scale is fascinating. And I'd like to also say he's one of the only human beings I know that can wear a three-piece suit in Singapore. So like you can take the Frenchman out of France, but you can't take the France out of the Frenchman. So that's my introduction to Bastien.
Right, and I am going to have a blast with him later, right? Because through our conversations earlier as we were preparing for this particular episode, right? He was sharing with me his deep knowledge and his passion across cultures, right?
He's a very interesting guy.
He's a Frenchman, has gotten a Korean wife, and I would love to see how his baby looks like. Must be as handsome as pretty.
He's very, 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 very cute.
Yeah, so this round, the topic is going to be on partnerships. And he's got a very, very unique perspective on how partnerships. And I believe this is a secret sauce that everyone needs to have. But it's so near, but we don't seem to know it. And through this episode, I really want to unlock and share his secret sauce with everyone, right? I'm sure it's one thing to figure out trustworthy collaborators, but when venturing the new APAC market, this guy has it covered, right? So for all of you out there, if you've got questions about partnerships, and how to leverage them. And I'm going to give you a clue. The clue is in working with government bodies.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got questions on partnerships, especially with working with government bodies and how they can become your secret weapon to actually accelerating your growth. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat and the questions below, wherever you see it, right? So that we can get some of these questions answered. So without further ado, let's welcome the best dressed Frenchman, three-piece suits, can wear it in sunny Singapore.
Yeah.
Let's welcome Bastien.
Hi, my name is Bastien. I am 33 years old. I lived in Singapore for 7 years. I've been in APAC for 12 years. And I'm a professional business development manager for the entire region. Exactly 2 years ago, I successfully completed one of the toughest missions I had to do to date for a client. That client wanted to find a candidate to take over their business in Singapore and to a larger extent into APAC. They wanted to find a licensee, which is a bit different from a franchisee, and when they tried on their own, they failed. The reason why they didn't have any success into doing this was simply because they did not know how to get into APAC and how to grow their business in APAC, and that is through partners. Let me tell you a bit more about this mission in particular. They wanted me to find in less than 6 months partners that could be taking over their license. Right. Easy, you say? Not really. The reason is, how do you find somebody who has to understand a completely different culture, a completely different company coming from Europe, and implement it into Singapore? Using the network that I had built over the past 12 years, I was able to find quickly some candidates, and the goal of the mission was not to find their right candidate for them on that time. The mission was to put in front of them candidates, and they would decide which one would be the best. Thanks to that partner network that I just mentioned, I was able to do just that. So how would you be able yourself to build a partner network, even if you've never been in APAC before? Well, there's a framework that I use for myself. It's called TaskG. It's trend, ask or act, share, KPIs, government. T for trends. Whenever you go to a new market, the first thing you need to do is obviously a market research. Does your product or service that you're providing in your current country or region, is it available in APAC? Is it growing in APAC? Is there a trend towards more and more people using it? If so, that means you might find somebody already in APAC who could provide you support to grow the business, to grow your business in APAC. When it comes to act, can I be their clients? Could I be the clients of that partner? And if so, then there might be some of your clients who'd be willing to be their clients as well. Meaning to say that you could find similar clients in APAC for your service and products. Share. Can I understand that person? Can we understand our business? Are we talking the same language? APAC has 36 countries. Most of them don't speak the same language. It goes all the way from Japan in the east, Australia, New Zealand, India, China, and all the other countries in between. It's a massive landscape with, I think it's 25% of the population, world population at the moment, and it's going to grow even bigger. So, do you speak English? Can you go to Singapore? Of course. Can you go to Indonesia? Maybe less so. You might want to have someone who understands Bahasa Indonesian and speak the language and has been there for many years. KPI, can I answer the KPI of that potential partner? If so, it means that they might be able to answer your KPIs as well. There is nothing better than to help somebody reach their goal. And lastly, G stands for government, because if you look at all the previous one, there's a very high chance that your government in your country has a presence in APAC, in most of countries in APAC, and they have a two-way conduit between the country of origin and the country where they are for business. In France, you have Business France and Invest in France. In Norway, you have the same thing with Invest Norway. And Australia, you have per state, Canada, etc. So to recap, first you want to do your market research. Then you want to have your partner criteria. Do you fit together? Are they a proper business partner? Are they stable? Do they have financial backing? Because you don't want to go into partnership with somebody who can't really deliver on what they promise. And then networking and local insights. Any country where you have a chambers of commerce, just go talk to them. They're mandated to answer you. They will answer you. Don't give up if they don't. Sometimes they are very slow to answer, but just keep on trying and eventually you will get through. And lastly, do your due diligence with every single person you meet in APAC. When it comes to Singapore, it's a very safe, very regulated country. It's a springboard into Southeast Asia and to a larger extent into APAC. But please, always check their background. So with all this insight in hand now, you can do the same thing and try by yourself to look for partners, or you could actually look for someone who's been doing that for years and talk to them. Someone who's been in the markets of Southeast Asia and APAC to a larger extent, and who knows the nuances, the culture, the languages, and how to interact with people to have a successful business venture. That's what ACE does. We actually are a business corporate service provider. We help companies expand internationally into 17 different countries, and we have the partnership network in the countries where we don't have an office. We're in Singapore, you want to go to Indonesia, we have the partners there that are doing exactly the same thing and know the talk of the locals. For the client I mentioned earlier, well, the mission ended successfully in September 2022. 2 years later, they now have their licensee and they run the first edition of their event for their company. Now they came back to me and they want to do the same thing in Thailand, and I look very much forward to this. Thanks for watching. I hope everything you've learned today is going to be useful and that you're going to apply everything that I've said and I look forward to seeing you in the Fireside chat.
Thank you, Bastien, for joining us today. I heard your presentation on how to make use of partners to help your company expand into APAC, right? And I heard a little bit about that, and I think you have a little bit more to unpack. But before that, maybe Bastien, can we get to know a little bit more about you personally, right? I heard you just got a new little baby as well.
Yeah.
Just celebrate this. Yeah, her early days.
I guess you can see that on my face. Yeah, so my name is Bastien. I'm 33. I lived in APAC for 12 years. I was in Korea for 4, Singapore for 7, and before that I was in Australia. Even before that I was in Australia as well. I've traveled all over the region, many different countries. And I have a very big passion for business development. I think a lot of the time it's misunderstood. People think it's sales, whereas sales is a byproduct of business development, in my opinion.
Yeah, having that relationship, right, with people and helping them solve a problem.
Correct.
And sometimes identify a problem that they might not have seen yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I particularly love your topic on expansion using partners. And I think that there's a lot to unpack there. Mm-hmm. You've come from France, or from France, where the culture is very strong, right? The identity is very strong. And somehow I heard about your little story of how you went into Korea, where the Korea identity is very strong as well. How do you break into some of these very difficult, strong culture countries? What are some secret sources you have to share with us as well?
Sure. So on a personal level, when you go into a different country, not for business, and you're young, it's still easy. You're still very malleable into getting into the right culture. And if you want to understand a country, you need to speak the language, and you need to really try to assimilate to that culture. On a business level, it's completely different. But you still need to have that element of understanding, but the way people are interacting with you, business is business, right? So it's very, very much difficult. And it's a good question because I just spent a month and a half in Korea for ACE to help develop the office that we have there. And it was really tough. It's not easy. And what came out of this month and a half are actually very good results for me. So hopefully that materializes into even better results soon. And the way I've done it is the way I do it in every single country that I go to. And I basically walk the talk. Everything that I've said before, I've done it. I went to find the partners that already had the answers for me. And I asked. And it just turned out that because I can speak the language, it made things obviously easier. But all of these people, they speak English because they usually interact with foreigners. So they have to learn the language. They have to learn English and to speak it properly. Although it's not always the case, for these people, that's usually fine. And it worked well. So now ACE is going to be working with Invest in Seoul, which is a very important government organization. It's almost like they have more power than Invest Korea or Kotra. It's really good. They do really, really good stuff. I invite everybody to have a look at what they do.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that in detail a bit later. I noticed one particular skill that you always have, and that could actually, to me, that's your secret power. That you seem to be able to leverage the strength of the chambers of commerce, the associations so well, right? Is there something that we don't know here?
Yes. Actually, it's a funny question you ask because so I worked 2 years at a French chamber, the French Chamber of Commerce in Singapore. I worked 2 years there, but before working there, when I was in Korea, I avoided all these, like the French communities like the plague. For two reasons. First, I wanted to learn the language. I didn't want to speak French. That was one reason. But then when I went there, I had a very bad experience of how I was welcomed. I felt like, why is this guy here? Multiple reasons to that. When you grow, you reflect on what happened. I realized I was not dressed enough. I was properly dressed, rather. And I was not really serious enough for them, looking serious enough, or my business was not serious enough for them to pay attention to it. But when I started working at the French Chamber of Commerce and doing some of the actual work that they do, I understood the importance of it. And I also understood that many companies are not aware of the power of the business network of their own country. When it comes to French companies, I used to organize French pavilions. I did like 5 of them in total. The biggest one being on the Singapore FinTech Festival, which is here a major event. And I had French companies that were on the festival as well. They came to me at the French pavilion and say, I didn't know we had a French pavilion. What do you mean? I spent the entire year talking about it. It's everywhere, on LinkedIn, in France, in the entire network of France, because you when you work there, you talk to your counterparts in France and you tell them, tell your companies. And it turned out that they knew about the FinTech Festival, they knew about Singapore, but they didn't know that in their own country, there's a massive network of export experts that are here to help them, to give them subsidies, to give them grants, to give them everything that they can do, they do everything that they can in their power, rather, that they have in their power to help them go abroad. So yes, there is a secret sauce with the chambers of commerce and the governments. For Singapore, I said before, it's Enterprise Singapore EDB. France is Business France and Invest in France. Korea, it's Invest Seoul, Invest Korea, Kotra, etc., etc. The companies that understand those networks and use them are the companies that you find that have success later in those countries, in the countries that they target.
Cool. So how can we learn something from you? How can we change the approach? Let's say we have a company from France who's looking to grow into APAC. What would be 1 or 2 very specific advice that you want to give to them so that they can grow into APAC?
Well, if you're in France, first of all, look at the mayors in your city. Just look what they have, and if there is a chamber of commerce, because there are chambers of commerce all over France, and ask them if they have any connections with Business France. And 100% of the time they're going to have. And you tell them you have a project of expansion into Singapore or Korea, whatever. And you tell them, can you connect me? And they will say yes. Why? Because that's their job, that's their KPIs. Their job is to go out to look for companies who are interested or could be interested in expansion and to guide them to the network. Everything is put in place, and it's just, I say France, but it's the same in every country. Everything is put in place for companies to expand abroad.
Right, I see the secret sauce now, because they are obligated.
Yes.
Not so much if you do it yourself, you go things through the hard way. But in this case, they have the entire ecosystem and the network and the processes in place, and they'll probably and surely get you there faster.
Yes, and even better, you have what you could call clusters. I'm sure you have that in Singapore, although I don't know them. You have clusters, which are specific industry associations that already have those connections as well in the country. So you don't even need to go through the government associations that can be sometimes slow. You can go straight to your cluster and go straight to the country. And very often those associations also organize what they call learning expeditions into the other countries. So if you're not completely sure about going into a country, you can participate to the expeditions, you come in the country, you realize, okay, there is potential, now what? You talk to your local partners, which very often, they speak your language.
So this is a big secret sauce I've learned. If you want to expand from your home country to another country, get to know your local chamber of commerce or the way they work, and then they will have linkages for you to head on to another country where they again have their own networks, and you'll be plugged in a lot faster. And if you had to walk, buy a ticket, and go to a trade show without knowing anyone.
Exactly. We say your network is your net worth. That's a very well-known idiom, and that is very true, especially in APAC. Again, 36 countries, so many different languages, so many different cultures. You're not going to get there by yourself. You can, you're just going to waste your time. So and unless you're a bit of a sadomasochist and you like pain, just go cut the learning curve. Go through people who've been there and done that. And you'll find more often than not, they are very happy to help you. When it comes to government associations, I'm saying they're more than happy to help you because that's their job.
That's their job. That's the keyword. That's their job. And earlier we were just talking about expansion of APAC, and you've helped a lot of different companies expand into APAC through the relationship you build them and pointing them to the right solutions as well. Why do you think expanding into APAC is such a strategic move? And are there any things or opportunities they're missing if they're not doing that?
Yes. I was at an event yesterday. I met somebody who works in the tourism industry, and his job is to build tourism attractions in different countries. And his statistics shows that within the next 2 decades, there will be 2 billion more people going from the lower to the middle and upper middle class. That's a huge number of potential clients for you and for your products and services. So by not looking at APAC at all, you're missing out. When the old continent is, growing old and on, a completely different demographical path than APAC, you want to be looking at APAC. India is a massive market. Although Japan and Korea are on the decline demographically, they are also very, very big markets. China is a big market. Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, which are very, very active countries. This is the place to be for the next 2 decades and more.
Right. And if you're someone looking to expand into APAC, is there a certain correct sequence of activities to do? Which market should they head into? And what are the potential pitfalls they should be looking out for? Do you have any inputs and suggestions for us?
Yes. The markets you should go to first are the established market. Because even though a lot of those 36 countries are developing countries, you still have some first world economies. Australia, Singapore, Korea, Japan. All these countries are established. They are not easy to enter, although Australia, if you speak English, it's a lot easier. And Singapore is literally a springboard into the entire region. There's a very nice map that is made by actually EDB, so Economic Development Board of Singapore, that shows how well-centered Singapore is comparatively to the Southeast Asia and APAC. You're a stone's throw away from almost every country. And do you know Bida in France? The city of Bida?
Bida. Is it really in France?
Yes, it is in France.
I don't think I heard about
that's where I'm from. Even in France, most people don't know. But you know Paris?
Of course.
You know
the Olympics was just held there, right?
Exactly. Well, everybody knows Singapore in Southeast Asia or even around the world. But that's the same thing. It's an address. It's an address into Southeast Asia and into APAC. Nowadays, you have more and more Korean companies looking to expand into Singapore and Singaporean companies looking to go to Korea. That's right. But the geographical position of Singapore into Southeast Asia, into APAC is just amazing.
Got it.
So that's for the where to go. As for the pitfalls, well, try to find the right partners. You can try to send someone here. Hopefully you have someone who has a very, very entrepreneurial mindset and is very malleable into any culture and can adapt to anything. But most of the time, if you send someone within 2 weeks, they'll have stomach pain. They won't be able to do anything here without talking to the right people.
Right.
So that's the biggest pitfall, is not talking to the right people.
Not talking to the right people. So how do you go about finding the right people, and how do we even figure whether we can trust them? Because lots of people say that they can do anything and everything.
Yes.
But who is it that we really can trust? Because moving into a new country and expanding the business overseas is a huge thing. And trusting the wrong person can give you really bad results.
Extremely bad results. So we just mentioned the government networks and the chambers of commerce. Usually this is a good base because they have a good footprint here in the country, and a lot of companies in the country are interacting with those foreign chamber of commerce in their own country, right? So those will help you you can almost be certain that the people working here or that are members are usually trustworthy people. Now, if you have to go on your own, look at business that are internationally established, not just local. You can find a very good local partners that is only in that country, but it's very unlikely. It's better if you know that these people are, I don't know, 150 people worldwide. They've are established in first world countries and in developing countries. If you try to go and just say, okay, wing it, and I work with him because he looks nice or he talked to me nice, that's not going to make it, especially in Southeast Asia, even in Singapore.
And I just want to spin back to the earlier story about how ACE helps partners or help your clients expand into APAC. And there's this lesson that always comes into me, that you have done the exact thing that you're doing for your clients in Korea. And earlier on in our earlier chat, you were saying that you managed to land some things and get some things done even before the actual office was registered and done. Can you elaborate a little bit on this part of the story?
Yeah, so in Korea, basically, I went to develop the ACE office. The office was open last year. It's a very small office at the moment. So they told me, why don't you go to Korea? It's a good timing for you, obviously, and try to see what you can get out of it. So I walked the talk. I went to the same associations that I talked to in every other country, and I asked them, are you able to work with ACE in everything we do? And so the good thing that came out was with Invest in Seoul. They are very willing to work with ACE to do something similar to what we're doing today, which are webinars for promoting Seoul to countries around the world, which ACE is very happy to do, because that means we can show to our clients, look, this is where we are, this is what we can get if you follow us in Seoul. Do you want to come to Korea?
Cool. That's really lovely. So you managed to use a few words and a few relationships to make things and push things harder and faster.
Yes, this is the beauty of business development, you know. Why? Because business development, very often the lowest effort, not lazy effort, the lowest effort yields the most results. So when ACE looks at something that I didn't mention earlier, maybe it's good mentioning it now, about having an easy time expanding, is look at your own clients. If your clients, they are looking, they buy your products and services in your own country, okay? Is there clients or targets in the country you want to go to that are similar to your clients? If yes, maybe they'll be interested in your products. In the case of ACE, because we specialize in international expansion and back office administration, we look at our clients, we tell them, we're there, do you need to go there? And if they need to go there, we do everything so we can be there first, and then they come in. So whenever we go to a new country, it's almost instantly the case that we are profitable. Because, even though it's not crazy, because we already have clients even before we get into the country.
Well, that's very clever. That means you already have clients if you want to head on to a new country, for example. Now, I don't know which countries that ACE is not already in, let's say India. If you are heading in India, you already have clients that you earmark. So you become instantly profitable, or at least break even.
Yes.
So anything else that you make there is good profits.
That's correct. And it works very well. That's how ACE went from just 2 countries in 2021 to now 17 countries.
Wow, that kind of speed is amazing. So
and through the pandemic as well.
Right. So look at what they could do for you if you were to work with them, because they're already in 17, 18 countries now.
Yes, 17. We're in 17 countries. The latest edition being Italy. Same thing. We're the client that needed. We had the office, just come over.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for sharing so honestly and so candidly. So I recap my own learning is really the importance of having the right partners, and one of the very, very important partners is your chambers of commerce, the government-linked, are embassies part of the deal? Not
yes,
somewhat.
Yes, because the chambers of commerce usually are private associations. For it's the case for the American chamber, the French chamber, the Canadian chambers, and others, or the Dutch chamber. But the associations, the government associations that is helping and whose KPI it is to send people abroad or back into France, for example, or Netherlands or whatever, these are usually at the consulates of embassies.
Yeah, so you have been around this APAC region for a while, and seeing from the eyes of a Frenchman, right, a very well-dressed Frenchman. What are some trends that you have seen over the years, and what are some, if I were to use and make you decode the crystal ball, what's probably the future that you possibly see?
So there is the obvious trend of AI, that's everywhere. But when it comes to APAC, a very big trend that I've noticed is climate tech.
Climate tech?
Yes. Especially when it comes to the Southeast Asian region, APAC also, but Southeast Asian region even more. They are very, very focused, and particularly for Singapore, where we are, in climate tech, because they have very specific goals to reach by 2030 and then by 2050, and so they are investing an enormous amount of money in those tech. Another trend is digital twins. Mm-hmm. When I was in Korea, I just met with this company. They were here in Singapore about 3 or 4 weeks ago for an event, and they came back to Korea. I met with them, and they do digital twins that it's the most precise digital twin I've ever seen, down to 5 centimeters. You know, usually when you go on Google Map and you zoom down, you see everything's flat, right? But with their digital twins, they can come up with entire cities where it's precise down to 5 centimeters, and they can do as well war simulation in cities, combat simulation in the cities. It's completely crazy. So digital twins, climate tech, AI are the big 3 trends that I've seen, that we see recently in APAC. And obviously, well, although it took a backseat in the past few years, the blockchain industry is still very strong in the region.
Right. So Bastien, I really learned a lot from you today about getting the right partner. The most important partner is definitely your chambers of commerce, your trade associations, and being on the right side. And of course, having a great partner like ACE who can speed track. Right. I see the way you and ACE grow within a very short amount of time to so many markets. So how do people find out more about what ACE does?
Well, you can find ACE on social media, on LinkedIn mainly, and at our website, expandwithace.com. And if you want a bit more precision, ACE is a boutique administration service company, so we help companies go from one country to another and expand internationally. And the beauty about this is we only charge you for the back office administration service. We don't charge you for the network that we've built in those countries and that we open to our clients.
Right, that's where the other part of the secret sauce is, the two twins that works together to help you really speed track your entire growth in APAC. So Bastien, thank you for spending time with us here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure everyone would have learned a lot and got a lot out of value of this conversation. So we'll see you really soon again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you and welcome back. I had a great session with Bastien. Right, thank you for giving me the chance to be working and speaking with the most handsome Angmo. You're a different breed, right? He's the handsome kind, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. So, but coming back to what I learned from him, so these are my key recap areas, right? That aha moment when he said that the chambers of commerce, the associations helping you is their KPI.
Yeah.
Well, that was mind-blowing for me, right? I mean, I understood that chambers of commerce and those trade associations, they want to help you, but that being their KPI makes it a lot easier. I mean, it made a mental shift for me, right, personally. And having this newfound fact, right, these associations now have a huge ability. So I will want to leverage that a lot more the next time I intend to grow in a new market. And Bastien also mentioned a lot about finding the right partner and how you find people who can actually work and get you results and not just only talk, right? And I love the real life examples that he shared across as well, the ones that he had from a couple of years back, and the more recent one on how he helped his own company, and the company he's working in right now, expand to a few markets, right? So that's really awesome to hear the real life execution on how these things are being done. So that's really awesome. So what about you? I'm sure you have lots of experience in this realm as well. What are your own point of view when working with associations? And yeah, I'd really like to hear from your real life experience as well.
My own point of view is that most companies don't know about this. No, seriously, yeah. Your aha moment is 90 to 95% of companies that I know. Government and trade associations are literally KPI'd to help you to get results. So if you're a government body, and the Singaporean government is very, very, very supportive. So whether you're a Singaporean company that's trying to expand into Korea, or whether you're a US company that's trying to expand into Singapore, the Singaporean government is literally KPI'd for that US company to enter into Singapore. So they're prepared to do quite a lot to help you. That's whether it's introductions to partners, to customers, to investors, or to the range of the services providers like Steve from Asian Market Entry that can help you to do it. So if you're unsure about how to enter a new market, guess what? You don't need to be unsure. You can just go speak to the government about it because they are there to simplify and to help you through the process. I find that the challenge is people don't know it, but they also don't necessarily know how to reach them. That's probably the bigger thing. So my piece of advice would be, attend the networking events that happen within your local area, but you can also jump online and you can have a look at who are the representatives from the government and reach out to them, because they're going to be very, very receptive and willing to speak to you. The response rates on completely cold outreach are very high. And remember, it's all about the win-win. If they are incentivized, if their KPIs are companies entering and expanding, if you help them to get their KPIs, they will turn into one of the best allies that you will ever have and make your life and expansion very easy. We've done it ourselves. Thank you, Betty Son Lucas. I love you. As well as working with the Singapore government. So thank you, SG Tech. Thank you, Action Centre for Entrepreneurship, Enterprise Singapore. It's just an incredible ally, and it's something that I strongly recommend any company to do if they're looking at scaling. So that's my honest thoughts. Now, for those of you who are on the call, we'd like to invite some of you to leave your comments and questions. So just click on the Q&A button and we're going to be addressing them in this session.
Okay, let's see whether there are some questions on the call so far. I've got the first question in. Right, this person called Ming, he has tried working with an organization, but they're not exactly efficient. Right, as a business owner, I need things to move fast. How to reconcile this difference? What's your interpretation? Because there are so many ways to think about this question.
There's a number of ways to answer that question, but look, one thing which I'll say is, have you ever met a government that is efficient? Actually, Singapore government's pretty good by comparison, to be honest. Government and business is different. And I am always extremely impressed whenever I meet the people that are working in government that have actually come from a business background, because then they can move at the same speed. But the reality is it depends on what your expectation is. They're not there to close deals for you. They're not there to help you to land major enterprise accounts. They're there to be the gateway, to open up the doors and to help you to promote your brand. So it just depends on what your expectations are, what they're going to help you with. If you're launching into a new market, guess what? Most people have no idea who you are. The government is incredible when it comes to that, because they can invite you to the local networking events that happen in the area. They can bring you in as a keynote speaker. So if you look at them as a source of deal flow, they can make introductions, but they're never going to be the same efficiency as an entrepreneur. But if you look at them as a gateway and a tool to be able to rapidly amplify your brand and connect you into the ecosystem, whether it's efficient or not, it's an incredible growth hack. Those are my thoughts.
And from my point of view, when working in a partnership perspective, slow down and understand what's in it for your partner. Don't purely look at this as a transaction. You need to observe what they're looking out for. You want speed, but if you're able to trigger him and he's able to think along the line. For him, a typical trade association would be the number of people that he's able to influence. You introduce more people in your network who needs their help, they clock up their numbers, and it gives him more motivation to give you what you want. Right? That's how I would approach partnership. You need to slow down and observe what the other party needs.
And what they're after. If you use it as a branding and promotion tool, it's absolutely incredible. It's not a sales tool, but it's going to help you to unlock the sales. So it's all around what your perspective is. Look, for me, this is one of the most underrated and underappreciated forms of being able to scale, leveraging partners. But guess what? The amount that you would need to spend on SEO, SEM, AdWords, Facebook advertising to get the same level of exposure that you can get from working with a government association where you pay zero, it's an absolute no-brainer when it comes to scaling. So I wouldn't look at it through the lens of efficiency. I'd look at it through the lens of how rapidly it's going to amplify your branding.
Totally agree. Right.
Next question, we have Kyle. So I also agree that finding the right partners is absolutely essential. Are there any signs or red flags that we can look out for in the initial stages of knowing someone to determine whether they're the right partner? So there's a lot, but I'd say the key one would be how willing they are to reciprocate, to add value back to you. If you find 10 partners, 8 of them could be useless. Not necessarily useless, but they're not going to give you the same amount of value. But it only really takes one partner, and that's going to unlock exponential growth. So the biggest thing that I would look for, it's not even so much red flags, it's things more to be cognizant of, and if you go out of your way to help them, how much will they go out of their way to help you? Because if you have that, and if anyone's read Robert Cialdini's book Influence, it's the law of reciprocity. So if they're reciprocating back, that's exactly the sign that we want. But red flags, I mean, it can be endless. But I'd say from a business and commercial lens, that's the key indicator that you most want to look for.
Yeah, totally agree. And I see partnerships as it must go two ways, right? It should never be you are the boss, you're the brand owner, they are the licensee, the franchisor. It won't work that way.
Yep.
They need to have equal stakes. Not exactly equal, but they need to have skin in the game in that sense, right? And if you end up working with too many partners, you're just going to tire yourself out.
Yeah.
Right, just have a few. I know some people are very allergic to having and depending only on one. I understand the reason why. Have two, maximum three, and then make each of them as invested with you.
Yeah.
Right, if not, you will spend too much time on partner management, channel partnerships.
Yeah.
Too many of them, it just won't work.
Yeah. Actually, the last thing that I want to say on that is just personal experience, but I've seen this many times. Work with smaller companies. Because the larger a company, and I see companies make this mistake all the time, I want to partner with Amazon Web Services, or I want to partner with IBM. These companies are huge. They don't care who you are. Like, you really need to be of the size of like a Salesforce to have a really deeply embedded partnership with an AWS. Work with companies that are of a similar size. So if you're a small business, work with other small businesses where the value that you provide to the other company is something that they crucially need, and the value that they provide to you is something that you crucially need. Because that way, it's completely win-win. So it's not necessarily a red flag to look for. I'd say it's a green flag to look for. Work with companies where you add something of value to them, they add something of value to you. Put in the time and effort, and if both parties are reciprocating, you're going to see that's where the real magic happens. So hope I answered your question, Kyle.
Totally. I've got a new question. We are tech consulting firm. Okay, yeah, right up our alley. We've realized that a lot of head office for manufacturing in companies in Southeast Asia are located in Singapore. And totally, right, that's the head office, that's where they make decisions. Do you think this discounts the localized and cultural aspect of business development efforts? Or do we still need to invest in those countries? Right.
Wow. Interesting.
Can I interpret that the actual production and manufacturing happens outside of Singapore, which is naturally the case? Singapore is probably too expensive a location to have high volume manufacturing, right?
Yep.
So what's that question? This discounts the localized and cultural aspects of business development efforts.
Can I break down this question into two? So if I read it correctly, there's one part which is doing the actual business development and winning the account. So if their headquarters is located in Singapore as the hub of Southeast Asia, and then there's the other one which is the actual delivery of it. If your decision makers are based in Singapore, then if you're a global company, look, if you're a tech consulting firm that's outside Singapore, then localize it to Singapore. If you're a Singaporean company, then you should know what you're doing. If the key decision makers are here. If the key decision makers are based in Indonesia or Thailand, then you're going to need to localize it. So that's in terms of business development and actually selling it. If you're talking about the delivery, so the sale is made in the little red dot, but then the delivery is rolled out to the wider region, well, now if you're rolling it out to Indonesia, you should be converting it into Bahasa or into Thai. So I'd say that's how it's broken down. And it's a question that I have heard asked, and it's not even just Southeast Asia, it's wider Asia Pacific, because so many of the companies, even from Asia Pacific, whether they're Japanese or Korean, they've got their headquarters in Singapore. So you can land the deal here in Singapore using the same selling style and business development effort that you would use in Singapore and most Western countries, to be honest. But when it comes to rolling it out into Japan, Korea, Indonesia, that's where you need to localize it. So, and the other unique and interesting part of Singapore, because it's such an international business hub, and you're dealing with stakeholders from so many different countries, the one nuance would be is if the founders of the company that you're trying to sell to are Indonesian and are very, very culturally Indonesian, then you might need to localize how you're selling to them. So that's the joy of business development, man. It's called mirror matching your prospect.
Yeah, and I kind of echoed that entirely, that you need to look at where the decision makers really are, because you're in the business of business development.
Yep.
You need to be speaking to who makes the deal works, right? You should pay considerations to the influencers, the head of manufacturing in Indonesia, but they are not the ultimate decision makers. Your solution should really cater to them and helping them do a better job.
Yep.
Right. But end of the day, who cuts the deal for you?
Yep.
Right. So be really focused on that.
Yeah, and if your proof of concept or requirements gathering phase, it's yes, you're dealing with a central stakeholder in Singapore, but then you need to demonstrate to the major users of the solution, which are based outside of Singapore, then you're going to need to tailor it. So that's how I would say. Sell exactly as you normally would. When it comes to the delivery, or if you need to get the actual users engaged and they're in a different country, that's when you come into localization efforts. Very interesting question, by the way. So thank you everyone for joining our webinar, and on the screen you're going to see a poll come up. Please help us make the next event even better by filling out the poll, and if you're interested in what we have been speaking about today, and if you'd like to speak to us about it, then please leave your contact details for us and we'd love to come back to you. And so join us for another exciting episode of Scaling in APAC in February. And good to be back, guys, and I hope everyone has an amazing 2025.
Yep. See you really soon. Bye.